Good morning, fifth grade. Today is Friday, May 29th, and we are going to be doing math class together. To be prepared for this video, you will need a piece of scratch paper and a writing utensil, and you will also need to open today's math packet. To do that, you'll click on week 11, math class, and then Friday's lesson. Go ahead and get your materials ready and come back to the video when you're all set. So today, you are going to start by doing your problem-solving task independently. You are going to answer questions 1 through 4. Leave the class notes for now. We will do them together. Answer questions 1 through 4, and then come back to the video when you're ready to discuss. Okay, for today's problem-solving task, we are seeking something that we are familiar with. We're seeing what we call exponents. So, number 1 is asking us, what does 10 to the 5th power mean? So whenever I see something written in exponential form, there's going to be a base, and there's also going to be an exponent. So here, 10 is my base, and 5 is my exponent. Thinking back to the beginning of the school year when we talked about exponential form, your base is the number that is being multiplied by itself repeatedly. And your exponent tells you how many times to multiply that number by itself. So 10 to the power of 5 is the same thing as 10 being multiplied by itself 5 times. So a number sentence that matches that would be 10 times 10 times 10 times 10 times 10. 10 is being multiplied by itself 5 times. So the base is always the number that's going to be multiplied by itself, and the exponent, the number written very small in superscript, is going to tell you how many times to multiply that number by itself. So when we're trying to figure out the value of that, we will solve the expanded form number sentence that we just came up with. So when I rewrite the exponential form as an expanded number sentence, 10 times 10 times 10 times 10 times 10, that is called expanded form. So after rewriting my number sentence in expanded form, I can solve it step by step. But in the beginning of the school year, when we learned about multiplying by powers of 10, we learned a shortcut. We learned that when you multiply by powers of 10, you'll add the number of zeros to your final product depending on how many zeros you have in your factors. So here I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 zeros in my factors. So my final product will have a 1 and 5 zeros. 10 times 10 times 10 times 10 times 10 is equal to 100,000. Numbers 1 and 2 were a review from things we have already learned. Now we are going to use what we know about exponential form to apply it when our base is not 10. When our base is not 10, the same rules still apply. You still multiply your base by itself depending on the exponent. So for number 3, it says, what does 2 to the power of 5 mean? 2 is your base, and 5 is the exponent. So 2 is being multiplied by itself 5 times. The expanded form number sentence that matches that is 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 2. So 2 to the power of 5 means 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 2. 2 is being multiplied by itself 5 times. When we want to solve that, we will solve using the multiplication that we know. We will go step by step. 2 times 2 is 4. 4 times 2 is 8. 8 times 2 is 16. And last, 16 times 2 is 32. Notice I'm taking it one step at a time because I can't do 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 all at once in my head. So I start with 2 factors, then I multiply it by another 2, and then another 2, and then the last 2 to get my final answer of 32. It's very important here to make sure that you are not switching the operation by accident and doing addition. 2 to the power of 5 is not equal to 10. This is not the same thing as doing 2 times 5. Exponential form means that you are multiplying the base by itself repeatedly. You are not adding, and you are not multiplying the base times the exponent. So the answer is not 10. The way to avoid a silly mistake here is to make sure that you always write out the expanded form number sentence. For example, if I had 3 to the power of 3, when I am solving, I'm going to write it in expanded form first. 3 is my base. It's being multiplied by itself 3 times. So this is equal to 3 times 3 times 3. And then I would solve. We're going to take some notes on what we just went over before we move on to practice problems. For today's notes, we learned that an exponent is the number of times to multiply the base by itself, and the base is the number that is being multiplied by itself. For example, 6 to the power of 2. 6 is the base, 2 is the exponent. Another example, 6 to the power of 4. 6 is the base, and 4 is the exponent. So 6 is being multiplied by itself 4 times. It's equal to 6 times 6 times 6 times 6. And the final answer for that is 1,294. Notice that we do not do 6 times 4. We do not multiply our base times our exponent. We multiply our base by itself depending on the exponent. Go ahead and jot down your notes for today so that you can use them during your practice problems and during the exit ticket. Go ahead and try the guided practice problems independently and come back to the video to discuss. For guided practice, we needed to write the following in expanded form. Here, we were given 9 to the power of 3. 9 is your base, and 3 is the exponent. So that means that 9 is being multiplied by itself 3 times. That is equal to 9 times 9 times 9, which is the expanded form. If we were going to solve that, we would first do 9 times 9 to get 81, and then we would do 81 times 9 to get 729. Notice that we did not multiply our base times our exponent. The answer is not 9 times 3. And we did not add 9 plus 9 plus 9. I'm continuing to repeat this misconception so that nobody has it. we multiply our base times itself, depending on the exponent. Here, we multiplied 9 by itself 3 times. 9 times 9 times 9. If we were to solve, it would be 729. Next, we were given 4 to the power of 2. 4 is our base, 2 is our exponent. That means 4 is being multiplied by itself 2 times. The expanded form would be 4 times 4. 4 is being multiplied by itself twice. If we were to solve, the answer would be 16. Next, we were given the exponential form and we had to write it in, we were given the expanded form and we needed to write it in exponential form. First number sentence is 6 times 6 times 6 times 6 times 6. Here, 6 is being multiplied by itself, so my base has to be 6. To figure out my exponent, I ask myself, how many times is 6 being multiplied? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. My exponent is 5. Here, because I am typing and I do not have the ability to use superscript in this program, I am showing my exponent by using this little arrow. To use that arrow, I held down the Shift key and I pressed the number 6. That is what it is on my keyboard. Should be the same on yours. So, if you see an arrow, then you know that it is the same as me writing the 5 or the exponent in superscript, meaning small. I am showing you that 5 is the exponent because I put the little arrow before it. 6 to the power of 5. 8 times 8 times 8. 8 is the base because 8 is being multiplied by itself repeatedly. To figure out our exponent, we ask ourselves, how many times is 8 being multiplied? 1, 2, 3. Our exponent is 3, so the exponential form would be 8 to the power of 3. And since I'm typing, I did 8 with the arrow 3. Please make sure you understand how to write and how to type in exponential form. And if you don't understand, you need to ask your teacher before you take the exit ticket quiz. Continuing along, try the practice problems independently and then come back to the video when you are ready to check your work. For the first 2 sections, it is review based on what we just went over in the guided practice, so you should check your work against mine using what I have on the screen. For the table, we will go through it together to discuss the different parts. So we are going to do 1, 2, and 3 first. For number 1, we were given 5 to the 3rd power in words. So the way that we would write that is 5 as the base with 3 as our exponent. Since our base is 5, 5 is being multiplied by itself 3 times. So our expanded form would be 5 times 5 times 5. To figure out the value, we need to solve one step at a time. 5 times 5 is 25. 25 times the last 5 is 125. Number 2, we were given 12 as a base, 2 is our exponent. So I know that 12 is being multiplied by itself 2 times. That's equal to 12 times 12. In words, we'd write that as 12 to the second power. 12 is our base, and it's being multiplied by itself 2 times. 12 times 12 is equal to 144. For number 3, we were given the expanded form 8 times 8 times 8. The base is 8 because it's being multiplied by itself. Our exponent is 3 because 8 is being multiplied 3 times. So we would write that as 8 to the power of 3. In words, we could say 8 to the third power. 8 times 8 is 64. 64 times 8 is 512. For the remaining questions in the table, you should go ahead and check your work against mine using the answers that are on the screen. If you find that you are very confused and not sure how to solve these, please make sure to check in with your teacher for a conference before you move on. So if you are unable to do the practice problems, stop, email, call, text your teacher so that they can conference with you on the practice problems. The secret code for today's math video is GLASS, G-L-A-S-S, G-L-A-S-S. Once you finish checking all your work, you should go ahead and get started on your exit ticket quiz.